sharing with you in this video 3 ways to enter money consciousness. And so really what this is going to help you to do is put you in a position in your life where you can have the highest probability to not only get the external results that you're looking for, but also create what you want from a space of not actually resisting every single thing that goes wrong in your life. Because let's face it, something's gonna go wrong. Something's gonna go wrong, but when we can stop seeing it like that it's really even something going wrong at all, but reframe it in fact as an opportunity, that's what's gonna help you, in my opinion, to get into what we're gonna call money consciousness. And we're gonna talk about in this video 3 ways to actually do that once again. And then so the first way to enter what we're gonna call money consciousness is really to have an understanding that there's a difference between being a victim and then being in an abundant state, a state of abundance. So you can be in a state of victimhood or you can be in a state of abundance. And if you can see the difference between the two, one is gonna involve a lot of thinking in the mind, lots of thinking. Another one is gonna be very deeply rooted and grounded in the essence of the present moment, regardless of what your mind is telling you. So money consciousness is about seeing the abundance of this present moment. So then whereas in one moment, one person might have a problem or a challenge or something goes wrong, and then they see, oh, I'm a victim, this is a problem, like why is this happening? I don't know why this is happening. Another person says, you know what, I've set out on an intention, clearly like I want something. It's probably not unlikely, actually, like if you think about it, that whatever's happening here is happening. You know what I mean? It's like this is the mentality and attitude we have to start to have when it comes to creating whatever we want in our life. Because if you start seeing all these problems and challenges as, again, not even a problem and a challenge, but an opportunity that's going to help you to become better, and then do this not just one time as, some cliche motivational exciting moments, but you do it every single day, moment by moment, day by day. You do it month by month, year by year, and then maybe even decade by decade, however far long you want to go. And you do this consistently. Like, do you see that? Of course you're going to get the result. And not only are you going to most likely get the result in your life that you're looking for, not that it's ever guaranteed, but it's probably going to happen if you start to act and have an attitude in this manner. You see how as well you're going to be coming from a space of internal non-resistance just because of that divinity and that connection that you have to the present moment that you're taking with you while you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing so in a manner where you're not just focused on what you're doing in your life, but you're also focused on how you're actually doing it, the place that you're coming from while you're doing what you're doing. And then so the second way to enter what we're going to call money consciousness is, now this is going to be a little bit more of a logical perspective. Like, we're going to keep it very, very down to earth and very, very logical. So really, if you want to save more money, the key is to always make more than you're spending. So you actually want to be bringing in more income than you're actually spending. That's the very basis of saving in of itself. If you want to save, if we're going to talk about richness as as an actual form versus just a spiritual thing, I think that would be a great way to start, is to understand that you always want to be bringing in more than you're spending. I mean, that's the essence of a successful business. You know what I mean? Like, if you're spending more than you're making in any business, the business is actually failing. The business is not working properly. For any business to be called a profitable business, you must be bringing in, of course, more than you're spending. And then so the thing is that's if you want to save. Now, if we're going to go back to bringing the spiritual and the physical together, also what I want to talk about is to have an understanding that ultimately all we really want in our life, what we really, really want, if you get down like to how do I be happy in this present moment, I think that what we're really looking for is just to understand that really you just need the amount of money that you need to support the lifestyle that you want. That's really the amount of money that you need or want, ultimately speaking. So it's not that it has to be like you have to be a millionaire necessarily, or you have to have $100,000 in your bank necessarily to be considered rich. Like, see, rich of course, is a subjective thing. One person might not even want any money. One person maybe wants a little bit of money. One person wants more money, but it's ultimately having, again, enough money or currency to bring in the actual experience of what you want. So again, what would you be doing with the money? How would you be acting? What would you be doing? Where would you be living? What does your house look like? What does your living situation look like? All of these things. How does your life look like exactly, right? Not just what number is in your bank account. Of course, focus on the number in your bank account, like if you want, but focus more, in my personal opinion, on what you would do with the money. Now, I'm not saying that you can't save it. Of course, it's important to save as well, but there also has to be an awareness where it's like, what is actually all of this for? You know, and I think that I invite and encourage you to do a little bit of both. You know, to do a little bit of both. Have an awareness of like how much you need to support your lifestyle. And then on top of that, you know, of course, it's not an unwise decision to just save as well. And again, the only way you're going to do it is if you're bringing in more than you're spending. And that might sound like a simple concept, but oftentimes can be neglected because we're so focused on just randomly spending things. But you have to realize just you have to bring in more than than you're pushing out. You know, it's just that simple at the end of the day. That's just all it is. You know, it's quite simple. When we try to make it more complicated, that's what blocks us from just being in that state of abundance of the present moment and staying connected to that essence and just keeping it simple. And then you'll find that if you're just truly present, truly grounded, it'll be easier to do this as well in my personal experience. And then so the third way that I found to enter money consciousness, or what we're going to call money consciousness, is ultimately that, you know, if we're going to bring it back to the spiritual essence of what we're talking about here, is to see that richness ultimately comes from just your connection to the present moment. Like, of course, Bob Marley said it himself. If you've ever watched the interview with Bob Marley, what you'll find in that interview is if somebody asked him, the interviewer was like, well, you know, do you have a lot of possessions? Like, you know, are you rich? You know, and then Bob Marley simply responded, and it's like, so possessions are supposed to make you rich? Is that what richness really is to you? His type of riches are ultimately just to be connected to the essence of the present moment. The being connected to life and the present moment forever is the type of richness that Bob Marley is ultimately going after. And then so really, if we're going to break it down and just connect back to what he's actually saying, what we're going to find is that being connected to that essence, to that divinity of the present moment is what is going to bring that feeling of richness into your life. That's ultimately what we're talking about. That's ultimately what is going to bring in that peace and that happiness and that joy into the present moment, is by grounding it into the present moment, by seeing that it's your connection to your divinity, which is going to bring in that feeling of richness. And then oftentimes it might sound a little too airy-fairy or, you know, a little too far-fetched, but you might think like, well, what if I just want to make money as well? You know what I mean? It's like, well, the thing is that all the resources that you need in your life to create whatever you need or want in your life, I believe is much easier to actually achieve when you come from a space of allowing God to work in your favor as well, being connected to the divinity of all that is. It's really a powerful idea. It's like, why would you not want to be connected to God while you're creating what you want? Why would you not want to be supported by divine intention? Why would you not want to be supported by life itself and the essence of the present moment while you're creating what you want? So these questions are going to allow us, I believe, to start to enter what we can call money consciousness. And that's going to allow you to not only have the spiritual power, and this is not like an egotistical power, it's a spiritual power within you that you can access at all times. If you can combine this sort of connection of the present moment to your divinity with the logical understanding of what it means to be successful in business, and really from a financial standpoint, what you'll really find is that you can sort of be this holistic person which brings in the spiritual and the physical together. And that's what I believe is a really powerful thing to do. Not necessarily the right or wrong path, but you can definitely do this and then bring in these two things together, which is going to help you to feel what we're going to call money consciousness in this video.